Hi, I'm Adam Drake from Mugen Seiki Racing. Today I'm going to show you how I clean my car, kind of service things from one race to the next. So a little bit more in depth than just cleaning your car from one round to the next or from qualifying to the finals. I pretty much fully disassemble the car, clean everything, check to make sure that there's no broken or worn parts, and reassemble it, put it back together. So I'm going to show you kind of the step-by-step process I use to do that from one race to the next. Alright, so I start by disassembling the car basically into just three segments. So I have front, center, and rear, and then I'll focus on the front first, then the rear, and then usually the center. And then from there I'll go ahead and bolt everything back together. So for now I'm going to go ahead and set the center and the rear aside, and then I'll just go ahead and start disassembling the front of the car. I just did a CVA video, so I already have the CVAs taken out of the front, but I'll go ahead and disassemble the rest of it, and then I'll kind of show you the next step. Okay, so now I have the front end disassembled, diff, front pinion, center drive shaft, all that stuff removed. I like to go ahead and kind of clean out any of the dirt and stuff from the droop screws before I go ahead and put them in my ultrasonic cleaner. So I'll go ahead and do that. Remove the hinge pin, the MBU arm stiffeners, and I go ahead and take the spring cup and shock springs off as well. So I have all the bearings kind of set aside, all the metal parts, and then from here I'll take kind of these remaining parts and I will put them into my ultrasonic cleaner which mainly has just water but also a little bit of simple green. So here's the ultrasonic cleaner. It's pretty cool. It's got a heating element in it to where you can go ahead and heat up the water. I put just a little bit of simple green in there and let this heat up. And then from there, I go ahead and just kind of drop all the parts in. And the cool thing with this is it's got a timer on it. I'll go ahead and kind of let it run through its cycle, move this around if needed to get the other side, or you can disassemble it a little bit further. And while this is cleaning and basically vibrating all the debris and dirt off of the parts, I can go ahead and service the differential, check all the bearings, and make sure all the bearings are cleaned and re-oiled. And at about that time, this stuff is finished, and I will get to that step here in a minute. So we'll go ahead and just turn this on and let it do its magic. Okay, so now we're almost done with the 480-second cycle with the ultrasonic cleaner. From there, if needed, you can take a paintbrush or a toothbrush and scrub any little dust and debris that's maybe left on the parts. But for the most part, with the hot water and simple green, the majority of the parts come clean without any scrubbing required. So from there I'll pull the parts out, and then I have the Jet Blaster Turbo from Cow RC. You can use an air compressor, but this is just really nice and convenient because you don't have the noise of the compressor running when it's trying to build up air. It's basically, it makes noise when you're using it, but when you're done using it, it's quiet, and it works really good for blowing off any of the water and moisture from the parts that you just cleaned. So now that all the parts are clean, I like to just kind of go through everything, inspect it, make sure that there's nothing that's maybe damaged or that there's excessive wear on any part. It's super critical though when you take the parts out of the ultrasonic cleaner that you really spend a fair amount of time and make sure everything is completely dry. You don't want to have any water or condensation left in any of the parts to where you can cause rust or like steering bearings to fail or anything like that. So just go ahead and inspect everything, make sure nothing's damaged or worn out. So now I'm just going to go through and kind of assemble everything back together, and everything's clean. CVAs are re-greased, bearings have been cleaned and re-oiled, and all the parts have been checked to make sure that there's nothing that's worn or damaged. So we're just going to go ahead and reassemble it. With the center drive shafts, the center universals, I use a mixture of blue and red thread lock just to have a little bit stronger bond than blue, but not so strong that you can't get it off. And I go ahead and I put a fair amount on the set screw and make sure it's kind of it's spread evenly by rolling the set screw on my finger. And then I also put just a tiny little drop down in the threads of the universal itself, because sometimes when you go to put the set screw in, a lot of the thread lock will just kind of fling off. So then just check, make sure that you have just a small amount of end play, and then once you do, you can go ahead and crank that set screw down the rest of the way. Another thing I like to do when I'm putting the car back together is just check and make sure that your ring and pinion mesh is still correct. Over time, you may need to make a small adjustment or move a shim from one side to the other. So just make sure that you're kind of paying attention to any of those things as you're reassembling your car, and make sure that you have a good result at the next event. So now that we have the majority of the front end back together, the only thing I really have left to do is put the front nose piece on, front shocks, and then I also like to use a little bit of the ProTech white grease and apply a small amount to the ring and pinion. And I'll just kind of work it around a little bit, make sure it kind of gets evenly coated on the gears. And from there, I will basically repeat the same process for the rear of the vehicle, and then the center of the vehicle, I will pull the center diff out, check the bearings, check out drives, make sure that the diff screws and things like that are tight. So now that I have the front clip, rear clip, and the center of the vehicle cleaned and ready to go, I'll go ahead and bolt front and rear end on. While I was cleaning the car, I went ahead and balanced the 4S track power battery. And from there, I'll go ahead and wash the Proline tires and throw those on the vehicle and just kind of reset ride height, camber, just to make sure that nothing kind of moved or adjusted during the last race, and throw the body on it, and she's ready to go for the next race.